What if, in a single, breath-stealing moment, an icon of modern engineering could be torn asunder by forces unseen? A moment when the promise of progress collided with the cruelty of nature and human oversight. On May 9, 1980, under a sky heavy with imminent despair, the Sunshine Skyway Bridge, a masterpiece of steel and concrete, became the stage for one of the most harrowing disasters in American history. The day began with an almost deceptive tranquility along Tampa Bay. Early risers marveled at the interplay of sun and water, while the magnificent span of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge, with its graceful cables and imposing piers, stood as a beacon of human achievement. It wasn't merely a structure. It was a vital artery connecting communities, a symbol of progress that inspired countless travelers. Yet beneath this veneer of pride and beauty, a storm was brewing, a storm that would expose fatal vulnerabilities in the bridge's design and maintenance. As the morning unfolded, dark clouds advanced swiftly from the Gulf, and the gentle lapping of the waves gave way to a restless churn. By early afternoon, fierce winds battered the bay, and torrential rains reduced visibility to mere meters. Commercial vessels, including the freighter MV Summit Venture, navigated the increasingly hostile waters below the towering span. On that fateful day, the seasoned crew of the freighter was battling not only the tempest, but also the relentless pressure of time and commerce. Amid these tumultuous conditions, a critical miscalculation proved catastrophic. In a moment that would freeze the hearts of all who witnessed it, the freighter's bow collided with one of the bridge's support columns. The impact was cataclysmic, a violent, bone-rattling force that reverberated through every inch of the structure. Eyewitnesses later described the sound as an ear-splitting metallic explosion, a deafening roar that signaled the onset of a disaster of unimaginable scale. The collision, initially appearing as a singular, isolated event, ignited a domino effect of structural failures that would soon unravel the very fabric of the bridge. The technical details of the catastrophe are as chilling as they are complex. Engineers later explained that the collision generated what is known in structural dynamics as a dynamic load event, a sudden, high-magnitude force that was never accounted for in the original design. The impact struck a critical support column, engineered to bear and distribute loads from both traffic and environmental forces. However, decades of heavy use, exposure to corrosive marine conditions, and deferred maintenance had left the column with microscopic fissures and weakened joints. These flaws, though minor under normal conditions, proved fatal under the explosive impact. In the seconds that followed the collision, shockwaves rippled through the bridge's network of load-bearing cables and beams. The cable systems, designed to operate within specific tension thresholds, suddenly experienced forces far beyond their engineered capacity. This resulted in a rapid, catastrophic loss of tension that set off a chain reaction throughout the structure. The bridge's redundancy, the design feature intended to allow for isolated failures without total collapse, was overwhelmed by the compounded stresses. Progressive collapse ensued as each compromised element accelerated the failure of the next, until a vast section of the span began to yield under the cumulative strain. Detailed forensic investigations revealed that the affected support column had been subjected to an insidious deterioration over the years. Corrosion, thermal expansion, and repetitive stress had all contributed to a gradual weakening of the material. Although routine inspections had identified these issues, the reported anomalies were dismissed as non-critical defects in an aging but serviceable structure. The freighter's impact, however, exploited these hidden weaknesses, transforming them into catastrophic failures that no amount of standard maintenance could have prevented. As the bridge's structural integrity faltered, a horrifying spectacle unfolded. In a matter of seconds, a massive arc of twisted metal dislodged concrete and snapping cables hurtled toward the dark, stormy waters below. Vehicles, buses, trucks, and countless cars, caught in the collapse, were swallowed by the chaos, their occupants trapped in a surreal nightmare of falling debris and raging water. The collapse itself was a visual symphony of destruction. Cables snapping like brittle twigs, concrete exploding into a million shards, and steel beams buckling under the overwhelming force of nature, combined with human error. Witnesses reported that it felt as though time had both slowed and accelerated. each moment stretching into eternity as the bridge disintegrated before their eyes. In the immediate aftermath, rescue operations commenced amid a scene of utter devastation. Emergency responders, armed with little more than determination and a few lifeboats, waded into the icy, turbulent waters. Helicopters circled overhead, their searchlights cutting through the swirling rain as teams struggled to locate survivors among the wreckage. The chaos was punctuated by heart-wrenching cries, the clamor of sirens, and the relentless pounding of rain, a cacophony that underscored the magnitude of the loss. Survivors emerged from the wreckage with haunting stories of clinging to twisted metal and the desperate hope that rescue might arrive in time. Parallel to the heroic rescue efforts, a team of engineers and safety experts launched an exhaustive investigation into the collapse. They pored over years of maintenance records, design schematics, and eyewitness testimonies to reconstruct the sequence of failures. Every bolt, every cable, and every crack was scrutinized. It became clear that the disaster was not a freak accident, but the culmination of a series of overlooked issues. The technical analysis highlighted that the structure's original design safety margins had been eroded over time by constant exposure to harsh environmental conditions and the increasing demands of modern traffic loads. The dynamic forces of the storm, compounded by the unexpected collision, had pushed the bridge well beyond its deteriorated limits. Further studies delved into the role of environmental factors. Meteorological data indicated that the storm on that day was one of the most violent in recent history, with wind speeds far exceeding those anticipated in the original engineering calculations. The relentless gusts, combined with the pounding rain and turbulent seas, created a perfect storm of lateral and vertical forces. These forces not only increased the stress on the bridge's cables and piers, but also exacerbated the progressive deterioration of the structure's materials. In the end, the combination of environmental extremes and a critical design flaw proved to be a fatal cocktail. Amid these detailed technical findings, personal stories emerged that provided a human face to the tragedy. A driver, whose car was swept away in the collapse, later recalled the surreal moment when the ground beneath him vanished, leaving him suspended in a void of terror and disbelief. A first responder described the agonizing minutes spent in the frigid water, pulling survivors from the wreckage, each rescue a battle against both nature and time. Families of those lost spoke in hushed tones of dreams unfulfilled and lives forever altered. Their testimonies added a layer of raw emotion to the cold, precise technical analysis, reminding everyone that behind every engineering failure lies a human cost that cannot be measured in numbers alone. The Sunshine Skyway bridge disaster forced a nationwide reckoning with the vulnerabilities of aging infrastructure. In the wake of the collapse, lawmakers, engineers, and public safety officials initiated a sweeping overhaul of maintenance protocols and design standards. New regulations mandated more frequent inspections, enhanced corrosion protection measures, and the incorporation of advanced monitoring technologies capable of detecting early signs of structural fatigue. The lessons learned from that day catalyzed a transformation in how critical infrastructure was managed, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would serve as a constant reminder of the price of complacency. Public debates erupted, questioning the adequacy of funding and oversight for such vital structures. Critics argued that the tragedy was not merely an isolated event, but a symptom of broader systemic issues, a failure to prioritize public safety over short-term cost savings. The disaster underscored a harsh reality that even the most celebrated feats of engineering are vulnerable when maintenance, foresight, and accountability are compromised. The technical analysis, layered with personal grief, resonated deeply with communities across the nation, sparking a renewed commitment to rebuild with a focus on resilience and sustainability. At Freak Files, we're dedicated to uncovering these raw, unfiltered stories behind history's pivotal moments. We peel back the layers of time to reveal not just the technical failures and human tragedies, but also the enduring lessons that compel us to strive for a safer, more responsible future. Our mission is to present history as a tapestry of triumph and loss, a narrative that challenges us to learn, adapt, and ultimately honor the lives affected by these catastrophic events. Join us on Freak Files as we continue to explore the intricate details and hidden truths behind history's most unforgettable disasters. Subscribe now and become part of a community committed to seeking truth and learning from the past. And remember, every shattered bridge calls on us to build a future stronger than the failures of yesterday.